Star Trek, Strange New Worlds Season 4, Episode 4 Recap and Review. A Case of Chiaroscuro. What happens when Star Trek stops telling a story and starts playing dress-up? That is the question hanging over Strange New Worlds Season 4, Episode 4, A Case of Chiaroscuro. The episode opens with a striking black and white visual style, throws the Enterprise crew onto a mysterious planet filled with shadows, resistance fighters, and suspicious characters, and immediately announces that this is going to be another genre experiment. The problem is not that Strange New Worlds tries something different. When the show gets these experiments right, they can be fantastic. The problem is that Season 4 has reached a point where the gimmick sometimes feels more important than the characters. After the musical madness of Subspace Rhapsody and the animated crossover of those old scientists, the novelty has started to wear thin. A Case of Chiaroscuro looks impressive, but underneath the stylish photography and noir atmosphere is an episode that struggles to give its strongest ideas the emotional weight they deserve. The story begins with newly promoted Commander Una Chinrali leading Dr. Mbenga and Ensign Uhura on an away mission to recover a probe that has wandered into Klingon-controlled territory. Their mission takes them to Mat-AR-12, a world that looks as though it has been pulled directly from an old black and white detective movie. The radiation surrounding the planet changes the way the crew experiences the environment, giving everything that unmistakable monochrome appearance. But the visual trick is only the beginning. The planet is filled with shady characters, resistance fighters, corrupt authorities, secret meetings, and a bar that practically screams classic film noir. The crew even has to adopt the local style to avoid attracting attention. It is undeniably fun to look at, and the production team clearly understand how to create the atmosphere. But after the initial excitement fades, the episode starts ticking through familiar genre boxes one by one. Una's storyline should have been the emotional center of the episode. She is caught between her duty as a Starfleet officer and her desire to help people resisting Klingon occupation. That conflict becomes even more complicated because Una understands what it feels like to be viewed as part of an occupying power. Her own history as an Illyrian gives her a personal connection to the people fighting on Mat-AR-12. That is a strong foundation for a story about identity, responsibility, and the uncomfortable reality of choosing between following orders and doing what feels morally right. Unfortunately, the episode never digs deeply enough into that conflict. The pieces are there, but the emotional payoff never quite matches the importance of the situation. Welcome to the Film Analyst. The character who ultimately makes the episode work is Mbenga. Babs Alyasamakin once again gives the character a quiet intensity that makes every scene feel more meaningful. Rather than dominating the story, Mbenga becomes the person guiding both Una and Uhura through the chaos. He understands that being a warrior and being a doctor can exist inside the same person, even when those identities appear completely opposed. His advice to Una is especially important because he reminds her that helping people does not mean abandoning the principles she swore to protect. His presence gives the episode a maturity that some of its louder genre elements lack. Meanwhile, Lon is quietly building another mystery aboard the Enterprise. She remains convinced that there is a traitor somewhere within the crew, even though almost nobody believes her. Not even Spock is willing to accept her suspicions without evidence. But Lon eventually discovers that her instincts were not completely wrong. The problem is that proving herself right forces her into an even more dangerous position. She lies to Captain Pike to protect what she has uncovered, and suddenly the question is no longer whether Lon can expose the traitor. It is whether she can survive the consequences of becoming someone willing to break the rules herself. That is ultimately what makes A Case of Chiaroscuro interesting despite its uneven execution. Beneath the noir costumes and black and white visuals, the episode is really about people trapped between duty and instinct. Una struggles with responsibility. Mbenga struggles with the contradiction between healing and violence. And Lon is slowly discovering how dangerous her obsession can become. The episode may not completely escape the gimmick problem, but it leaves the season in a fascinating position. The characters are starting to bend the rules, and in Strange New Worlds, that is usually when the real trouble begins. Thanks for watching.